No one can enter a strong man's house to plunder his property unless he first ties up the strong man. Then he can plunder the house. What does that mean to you when you hear it? It seems like a flyby statement, but it's not. It's actually a critical question I'm asking you now. What does that mean? Because I'll tell you now, it means a lot for our times. To get at it, there are certainly many examples in human history that will help us unpack it, but I think the best known, even cross-culturally, is the story of Adam in the garden. And here's why. Because Eden, by definition, is a walled garden that is established by God. Now, as a garden, the inside, it is to be the seedbed of life and order, the place of divine encounter. It shelters that which is most precious. It is simultaneously the home of the human family and the sanctuary where man encounters God. But as you know, order and chaos, they live in a very delicate balance. And so while the walls are to keep chaos outside, man, in his physical prowess, his focus, and his divine office, is to make sure from the inside that it stays out there. And so it is, uniquely to Adam himself, that God charges him to work the land and to keep it. But what is to keep? It means to protect and to guard. What is work but the sacrifice of the present moment for a greater good in the future? And so, in other words, Adam is to be ready to sacrifice himself for the greater good of keeping and protecting that which is flourishing in the garden. How did it go? Chaos in the form of a serpent comes in to plunder the garden. And, of course, that's what chaos does. It's always doing that. But first, in order to do that, it has to bind the strong man. How do you bind the strong man? You go to the most powerful influence in his life. Who's that? His wife. So the serpent starts with Eve. And the problems become immediately apparent. Where is Adam when death is coming for his bride? He who is to establish order subverts it by disobeying God and eating the fruit that his wife gave him, putting family above relationship with God. And then all that happens until we get to today, where what is he doing? He's hiding from God in fear. He's blaming Eve for his disobedience. He's even blaming God because he gave Eve to him, who made him disobedient. He is shirking all responsibility for his actions like a coward. The strong man is bound. One thing remains: chaos and death, division, and a lot of suffering. Eden is plundered. And by the time Jesus arrives, the Gospels refer to it as a desert wasteland. That doesn't seem the way things should be, and yet what's fascinating, sort of the marvel of our times, is modern culture actually prefers men to be that way. Why do I say that? Well, I mean, in fairness, in response to the poor behavior of a minority of men, society has a tendency to demonize all men. So the natural masculine tendencies are quickly labeled as toxic, and we come up with new terms like mansplaining, manspreading. Why can't we hate men, asks a headline in the Washington Post. Senator Mazie Hirono told the men of America from the Senate floor, do the right thing for a change. Hashtag kill all men trends on TikTok, and currently there's a trend for women to prefer to live with a bear in the wilderness rather than to live with a man. Okay, so think about the impact that has on young men. Maybe the young men in our sanctuary as I speak. We create an environment where boys grow up learning that their natural tendencies are bad, that those attributes within them to be aggressive and competitive, critical-minded, independent, are actually the root of evil in our community. And because it's part of their natural instinct, that sends the message that you are evil. Well, then what happens? Men stop striving. They become unmotivated. Depression rates among them soar. The enemy binds the strong man of the next generation, and the world suffers as a result. But Jesus shows us a better way as the new Adam, in that all that Adam was meant to be. Consider, for example, today's gospel. Jesus enters into the wilderness of human existence, and he immediately starts working the desert. He's proclaiming the truth, and he's uprooting error. He's casting out demons, he's healing the sick. He's cleaning the house and building the wall with the gospel so that he can breathe life into it again, which he does on Pentecost, and make Eden new, which he does as manifest in the church. Well, what happens in the gospel today? In walks chaos. His family, he's out of his mind, he's crazy. The religious leaders who accuse him of demonic possession. And this is no small thing because it bears with it this undertone of the threat of death. Death insofar as it cuts him off from the community and natural resources by marginalizing him, but also by bearing the weight of the Mosaic law because he could die for what he's doing. How does he respond? Aggressively, courageously, and head on. Unlike Adam, Jesus restores order by refuting their logic and breaking it apart. He reestablishes hierarchy. God first, family second. Who is my mother? Who is my brother? Those who do the will of God. He sets boundaries by telling them, all sins and blasphemies will be forgiven, but not against the Holy Spirit. And he's perfectly ready to sacrifice his life to this end. And that couldn't be clearer. There is no cowardice in him. The enemy sought to bind him, and he proved too strong. That is the standard for every Christian, as all of us are called to pick up our cross and to follow him. But in particular, men. What would society look like if every Christian had that level of vigilance? Firstly, in the garden of their heart, confronting the chaos that is plundering within, but also in the garden of the community, in the garden of the church. We must ask ourselves in this age whether we've become too tolerant of evil, too conversant with chaos, too slow to take action when action is necessary. That might not be the kind of man that society wants. It is the kind of man we need. And the women we need are the ones who demand that of us, who expect nothing less and raise the bar. Jesus expected nothing less of himself, and neither did Mary, who was with him every step of the way.